Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, I'm going to show you something only Volts can do. Half of the weapons cannot be replicated on any other frame. The other half can be done on Saryn, however, Volt can do it better due to access to attack speed innately and better survivability via capacitance if desired. So enjoy the showcase. Let's go over important tech used in this video. First is Tandem Guidance Infinite 12 times combo. If your melee has negative combo duration and heavy efficiency modded, then using a heavy attack consumes 0 combo, letting you sit at 220 forever. This is achieved by not using any dexterity arcanes or melee duration mods. You use melee guidance aura, resulting in -1 overall combo duration. But how do you build combo then? Two options. Either use a Panzer with viral quills, tandem bond, and swipe, because hitting an enemy with quills counts as 4 melee hits instead of 1, and swipe lets your Panzer hit 4 enemies at once. This results in 16 hits instantly, with each giving 6 combo. So 4 enemies within range of your Panzer equals 96 combo per attack. The alternative is to use Rhoda. Since our entire setup today is about nuking with melee, your primary slot is free regardless. Reminder to not use dexterity arcanes on it. Mod Rhoda with fire rate, multi-shot, and reload speed. It takes about 1.5 magazine dumps to reach 220 combo forever. There is an Innodem shown later today, and because today's setup works best with spammy melee projectiles, that's why I chose it. If you do not want to use Volt, you can replicate that Innodem setup with Amalgam Argonak Metal Auger on any frame, since it lets you armor strip with status effects and all dagger damage in general. I'm just showcasing Innodem because it is a very comfortable Volt pick due to his innate speed buff. I'm also frequently showcasing with a Nautilus for a Cordon Manifold spam. Do keep in mind this is not needed for all of today's builds, but works better on some than others. It is up to you whether you want to bring Nautilus Cordon or not. The build I'm using looks like this, where the equipped Helstrum will occasionally apply extra status to proc Manifold bond and cut down Cordon's 15 seconds cooldown. Because we're running around with 20-meter nukes, Primed Animal Instinct helps a lot. The Helstrum build looks like this. Viral, heats, with a new radiation mod from Whispers in the Wall. This weapon has atrocious fire rate, so make sure you double stack it, and Prime Firestorm for bigger AoE. Finally, Volts himself. This one is very simple. All builds except Nepheri today use Emerald Archon Shards. 2 of them increases corrosive count to 14, allowing you to full strip enemies with corrosive procs. Throwing melee projectiles through Volt shields add 50% electric damage, and uniquely cannot combine with any other elements on your loadout. Be aware this does not work for normal melee swings, only projectiles. And that extra electric weight is also applicable for status procs. This allows you to mod for corrosive, but retain access to separate electric. This lets you stack corrosive armor strip, and then retaining electric to activate melee influence, and spread massive AoE damage against armor stripped enemies. Saryn can do this with Venom Dose plus electric mods on most weapons, but she also cannot do this on weapons with innate heat or toxin, because the electric mod will combine with it. This is where Volt's shield shines the best since it still works on those weapons by keeping electric separate. Volt's shield also blocks incoming AoE and staggers while also doubling your damage if your attack crits. The best melee projectile weapons today are those that either have force proc electric, or have massive hitboxes, or have high status and high hit rate. So let's get into the showcase. There are 2 main Volt builds today that I'm using. The only difference between them is one uses enemy radar to find more enemies to nuke, whereas the other one uses the melee guidance setup for negative combo duration on 12 times combo builds. By and large, the only difference is the aura. Some setups will want Prime Sure-Footed due to melee knockdown, and if you do not have Prime Sure-Footed, use Unairu for poise. This works because the builds are very simple to use today. You just cast speed as needed and carry your shield. You don't have to worry about shooting enemies or maintaining combo or any other timers. So just going in and out of operator every 40 seconds shouldn't be a problem. Your Volt shield lasts only 32 seconds anyway, so if you go in and out of your operator when it expires, you're good. Notice how I have sky high range. We don't need ensnare at all, but it is a KPM increase that's sticking over from an old build if you want. Your main survivability comes from Arcane Guardian and Vitality, combined with Adaptation. If you subsume Airburst over as 1, you can use the Capacitance Augment to get a ton of shields from Volts 4 as well, since we're building for range anyways. Without Capacitance, you can add more strength or duration in the free slot for comfort. Playing the builds today is super simple. You carry your Volt Shield, cast your 2 whenever expires, then spam whatever projectile melee you chose. That's it. First one to showcase is Nepheri. Why? Because dual daggers are rather scuff, but Volt allows this setup to truly shine. This is not a heavy attack build, so you would use the enemy radar Volt setup. Nepheri's main gimmick is in its neutral combo, which is very slow. This is where Volt's speed buff helps a lot. The final attack launches fireballs that are innate heat but combined with mods, which is where Volt's shield is handy for isolating electric procs. These fireballs have 1.0 follow through and infinite body punch through. This setup is different from the rest today, because actually it's not a full strip setup, rather this is a rare AoE heat inherit setup. I will not go into the details of heat inherit in this video since there are many weapons to showcase. Simply put, you will want to prime enemies with Epitaph before attacking. Since the special combo is on neutral melee, it's no different than a hack and slash setup. I will showcase the Epitaph build after explaining Nepheri. For those that know how heat inherit works, I'm letting you know that melee influence does actually preserve the primer's first heat proc properly, allowing the 20 meter AoE to have full proper heat inherit scaling. Banes allow us to do 2.4 times more damage since they double dip on dots. For maximum comfort, I brought Healing Return to regenerate health as you DPS, since Nepheri roots you in spots somewhat as the fireballs come out. Feel free to use one more forma so you can use max rank. The Epitaph build is simple. You build as high heat weight as possible and use a primed Bane and primed Fulmination for massive blast radius. Fire rate and multi-shot for comfort and ammo mutation. You have to hit enemies with this before Nepheri. How much of a difference does it make? It makes you do 3.5 times higher damage. Also gives you viral procs, so you can kill the nearby crowd more easily. If you really don't want to use a primer, then you'll have to subsume Roar onto Vault and replace Gladiator Might on Nepheri with Molten Impact. You go in and watch everything burn down. That's it. Our second melee today is Corufell. Once upon a time, this weapon could do infinite 12 times combo strats, because the shots on the heavy attack could build combo, after the cost of the heavy attack was deducted from your total. This meant standing far enough away would build combo faster than you lost it. Now, this no longer works, but we can instead use the Tandem guidance trick to give this weapon infinite 12 times combo on every shot. Corufell's shots have innate heat, making them incompatible with Saryn for Corrosive Electric full strip setups. To achieve the same effect, she would have to use 3 mod slots for Gas and Electric and Venom Dose. Saving 1 mod slot for Volt builds, and combined with having attack speed built into his kit, lets me save 2 slots on Corufell overall. This lets me make sure I can mod crit and status while retaining both Killing Blow and Amalgam Organ Shatter for just 0.6 windup speed. Yes, raw attack speed affects the twirl animation before you actually charge the shot. Banes to double dip for 2.4 times more damage, and remember that condition overload is final multiplicative on Corufell instead of base damage, so now you just run around with speed and volt shields, heavy attacking everything in sight to death. Our third melee today is Syam. This weapon is the ultimate weeb katana, launching out sword beams and waves that can travel over obstacles within 200 meters to hit anything behind them. I previously covered this weapon super in depth, so if you want a full breakdown on Syam, check out the video at the top right. This weapon has innate heat, just like Corufell, and is thus problematic to mod on Saryn. It is also clunkier and weaker than Corufell, however its main appeal is the much higher 200 meter travel range, and being able to pass over and behind obstacles, which Corufell cannot. It also feels cool to use. Anyways, this is a 12 time setup, so once again, use the Tandem guidance trick mentioned earlier, with the melee guidance Volt aura. The build is identical to a Corufell, complete with having multiplicative condition overload scaling instead of additive like base damage on the shots. Bane once again double dips for 2.4 times more damage, while Blood Rush ensures our CC passes 100% at 12 times combo. Weeping is our main source of electric and corrosive procs. Amalgam Organ Shatter and Killing Blow cuts windup down to just 0.2 seconds. Plays quite similar, too. Carry shield with speed, and just go around spamming sword beams at enemies. Our fourth melee onwards are weapons that actually also work well on Saryn, but are so good they deserve a mention on Volt as well. The first is Xoris. I previously showcased how busted the Xoris is with melee influence and why it's such a massive improvement even alone on any frame. To get that full breakdown and further demonstrations of Xoris in current meta, check out the video at the top right. Today's setup takes that even further. Xoris force procs electric, making it easy to activate melee influence. Building pure corrosive on it allows us to full strip with emerald shards. This is once again a 12 times infinite combo build, so make sure to bring melee guidance and Rhoda or Panzer. The most important part about Xoris is how its AoE works. It is base 9 meters, increasing to 12 meters with volatile quick return, being by far the largest blast radius of any glaive in the game. It also has 0% fall off, like all other glaives, meaning anything actually hit by it takes full damage, no matter how far they are from the center. By modding pure corrosive, we guarantee this is the only natural proc we get, since the explosion is by default pure electric damage. It still force procs electric, meaning you can use this Xoris on any frame in the game, and not just Volt and Saryn. Melee influence mirrors on all non-IPS procs within a 20-meter radius, so using a 12-meter AoE to apply a bunch of corrosive procs lets a single throw instantly cap out 14 stacks to full strip when thrown at a crowd. The Force Electric procs are also mirrored, resulting in 20 to 30 electric procs instantly and killing everything off 1 second later. Weeping Wounds pushes status above 100%, guaranteeing every enemy hit will produce a corrosive proc, which is reapplied in a 20-meter AoE. Keep in mind both Xoris AoE and Melee Influence AoE goes through walls. Our 5th melee today is Vastilok, an overlooked gunblade whose only purpose, in people's eyes, is to armor strip. But it is the best slash gunblade due to pellet count and status for 12 times combo builds in endurance, but it's single target. So who brings a single target slash gunblade in current era when armor strip is so accessible? But that's also why this new Vastilok setup is so strong, because it has such high pellet count. A 12 times light attack spam shits out so many corrosive procs. It can instantly cap out the 14 stack limit and a 20 meter AoE with melee influence. The 9 pellet count per shot also makes it extremely easy to proc influence with Volt Shield, as well as applying a ton of electric procs for DPS on full stripped targets. 3 light attacks is all it takes, turning Vastilok into the best AoE gunblade nuker. Because this is a light attack build, you do not need to use the Tandem guidance setup and can safely use enemy radar. If you don't like animation cancels, use bullet dance. Otherwise, you can use high noon and alternate between neutral melee and forward melee attacks for the fastest shooting rotation. This takes a little bit of practice to get the rhythm right. We sit at 68% status at 12 times combo with 9 pellets, so proccing electric and corrosive is a joke. Remember that Prime Spite multiplies our electric darts by 2.4. We also pass 100% crit to make sure we benefit from crit damage fully, which is doubled through Volt's shield. Amalgam Organ Shatter is only there in case you want to use a heavy attack, since losing 5% crit damage is nothing. This one is even smoother to use than the ones from earlier. Carry shield with speed, light attack at some enemies, watch everything die. The last choice today is Innodem. As mentioned earlier, this can be done on any frame without even using Emerald Shards due to Amalgam Argonak Metal Auger, letting daggers armor strip even with status effects. Melee Influence inherits this augment, letting the 20 meter AoE also strip armor instantly. However, it also works nicely on Volt because the Volt shield lets you safely hover while taking out enemies spamming the air light attack while receiving massive buffs from his speed. While I won't go as in-depth on projectile Innodem setups today, I did also cover a full breakdown on Innodem a while back. If you want to know why Innodem is such an amazing dagger in general for all uses, check out my video at the top right. My main recommendation is to put Arrow Vantage somewhere on Volt, maybe in the flex slot, so you can hover more easily when aiming at enemies. Reminder that you can only use the spam projectiles in Incarnon mode, which require heavy attacking at 100 combo or higher for 180 seconds of free big PP damage. Because this is a light attack build, you do not need to use the Tandem guidance setup and can safely use enemy radar. These are the Incarnon perks I use in my Innodem today. For the build, you have 2 options. If you're using Amalgam Argonak Metal Auger, you can just build viral like this, since the electric procs will come from Volt Shield and strip well enough. If you aren't using Volt, then you'll also have to drop Prime Fury for an electric mod, but that can be replaced by Arcane Strike. Or skip viral completely and mod pure electric plus Gladiator Might. If you're not using Argonak for some reason, then just mod pure corrosive status up top. Your electric comes from your shields, and this will let you shred armor off with the Emerald Shards while destroying everything else even without Argonak. Reminder, as always, Prime Smite double dips for 2.4 times more damage on our electric procs. We pass both 100% crit and status, letting the setup shred easily. Just hover, hold down to neutral melee to auto-fire a million projectiles around. Bonus points if you want to use Aerodynamic Aura for even longer aim glide. Cheers! If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always as soon as possible. Like I've done with the Whispers in the Wall update. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis. You don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? And that'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.